Okay, so the second film in this series about food intolerances and kinesiology is going to be describing my session with Hannah Keelston, what we did together, how she tested me, what techniques she used, and then I will develop further in future films about what she suggested that I should take as supplements to help me improve the situation. I can talk about the list of foods that I needed to avoid if that's interesting for you, and yeah, we'll start from there. First, I'm going to show you a little picture of her name in case you're interested in connecting with her. She's very good at what she does. She's very professional. She herself had problems with food intolerances, and that's why she went into learning how to help other people. I presume that's all backwards, but I could write the information in the description bit underneath this film, and then if you want to get in touch with her, you can. So let's try and wind my mind back to the very first session I had with her. So we probably spent about half an hour talking about my situation, what my symptoms were when I would eat certain foods. I've got a film that I've just made on my symptoms. Yeah, when I was coming to her, I had very, very frequently hugely bloated stomach, and it would go hard like a balloon. And I'd kind of poke it, and it would just be big and really bloated. There'd be constipation, sometimes diarrhea, it depends. I'd get headaches, I'd get lots of face itching, eyes itching, lips itching and swelling, shortness of breath, anxiety, so all that stuff. Her technique with kinesiology is I laid down on her kind of like a massage bed, and she had this wonderful case of little glass vials, you might call them, like tiny little bottles. And inside these tiny little bottles had examples of a tiny bit of each of these foods. Lots of different foods. She didn't need to use all of them on me from after our discussion, but she used a lot of them just to kind of check what kind of food groups and what different things my body reacted to. She also, because kinesiology is where you kind of press down on the hand, and you either you feel weak and she can press down, and my body gives way very quickly to that pressure. If you don't have a reaction to the food, then you stay strong, and you're even the same pressure that she pushes down, the arm stays in position, and you don't go weak, basically. And she would place that little glass vial on my stomach, kind of over my belly button. I kept all my clothes on, and that's just how she did it. She also did a kind of pre-test to see, I think it was with a magnet placed on my shoulder or over this kind of part of my body, to test what my strong and weak felt like. So once she'd kind of gathered that, she started going through all the different vials, and she wrote down a list of things where I was weak. She wouldn't tell me what was in the vials, so there could be nothing mental that goes in your head to affect what you might do with your arm physically to keep your strength or whatever, if you want to, or to feel weak. So I didn't know what it was in there and what she was writing down. She told me the outcome at the end. What I found even more fascinating was that she used my outstretched right leg to test, because I also had a really strong sugar intolerance, so I couldn't have like half a teaspoon of sugar in my tea, or any honey, or anything mildly sweet, and it would just give me a headache straight away, so I had to cut out all sugars. There's something to do with, I imagine, the energy pathways down towards the feet via the legs that kind of indicate the relationship that your body has to sugar. So yeah, I was very weak with that. And then she also had a bit of a prod and a poke around in this area here. down low in the abdomen where you've got two valves. You've got one on one side and one on the other. And one of my valves that kind of lets food through to the large intestines, I think, was open and wouldn't close. So it was allowing food that wasn't properly digested, or little bits and particles, to go through when it shouldn't. And so that was creating kind of negative effect down there. And she said with the different things that she gave me to take would probably resolve that on its own without needing to do a special therapeutic session for that, because she can kind of massage it and do other things to help that valve start working again. In the end, with that, it did resolve itself on its own with the things that I was taking. She didn't need to do any more work on that, so her prediction was correct. She wrote me this list, so it was on the 29th of the 3rd, 2019, so it was in end of March. And here is my list. So my list was, I couldn't have barley, I couldn't have malt extract or maltose, I couldn't have rice or cheese, brewer's yeast, wine, beer and cider style yeast that goes into making alcohol, yeast extract, prawns, shellfish, mackerel, mushrooms, which is also corn, melon, cocoa and chocolate, salmon, trout, and all nuts. All nuts? Really? I don't remember that. That's how long ago it was. Yeah, so that was quite a long list and very specific. So she was quite surprised, for example, on the rice front, because that's very unusual for people to be intolerant to rice. But I was. The other interesting thing for me, because I'd cut out so many different foods, because, for example, quite often you can get barley in bread. And so I just wasn't eating any bread, anything wheat-based, because I just thought, oh, it must be something to do with gluten, so I'll cut out the bread. Cheese, you can have fromage blanc, kind of cheese, it's almost a bit like thick yogurt. So I basically cut out all dairy because I thought I was also reacting to anything dairy-based. But actually it was just the cheese aspect of dairy and nothing to do with milk or butter or anything else, or yogurt. And she told me that it was so the thing that makes cheese, rennet, which is the bit that I couldn't take. Interestingly, later on different tests, I was intolerant to tuna, so there was other fish in there. So basically what I'm trying to say about this is that she didn't test absolutely every food in the universe, because there's just so many different aliments, as you say in French, out there, and so there was things missing. But at least I could get a really good idea, and I could keep away from these things, because in that list it says foods you should avoid. And so at the beginning I was avoiding these things so that I could feel good for long enough to kind of start my body to kind of regenerate and start healing, along with the other nutritional products that I was taking. She also found that there was a lot of bad bacteria that wanted to grow and multiply in my gut. She worked out, using the little vials, that the best thing for me to take to kill off that bad bacteria was something called berberine. I took this 60 capsule pot. It has berberine with grapefruit seed. It starts with 1 capsule 3 times a day between meals for 3 days, then increase to 2 capsules 3 times a day between meals until the pot runs out. So that was very specific, and I think that pot kind of ran out in about 2 weeks. I haven't done the maths, but that's what my memory tells me. And it was amazing. So the part of me that was making my stomach bloat up and stay hard after eating certain foods, that was the bad bacteria. And so that symptom went away really quickly through taking berberine. I was just blown away with just kind of so pleased that this technique was already starting to work. I will, because this is getting quite long, this film, I will do another film specifically on 4 different things that I took to help me in this process. after these sessions with Hannah Keelston. See you on the next video. Bye!